Right, so I did say I want to explain in a video how to actually play the Grace Harumasa anomaly team. In this specific example that I'll be going over, it's the run you literally just saw. This is with Rena, as opposed to Astra as your support slot. I prefer playing Rena. Astra's easier. It's probably more damage. At least at M0 Arena, it's better. I don't like Lucy or Nicole here. I mean, it technically works, but there's the issue of playing Nicole out of stun is not the greatest. Lucy, while she's technically fine, her buff isn't super insane considering it's out of team synergy, and she will eventually disorder your shock, which I'm not the biggest fan of. But teammates aside, I like Rena the most. M1 Rena should be the best option here, and then it's probably Astra, and then it's M0 Rena. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Astra does also steal your your shock at least once, but I mean, it's not the biggest deal because at least Astra's buff is really strong. Anyway, teammate shit aside, I'm planning to just go over the run, break down everything that did, why did it. There's obviously some chokes, I'm gonna point those out so you don't do those yourself. Yeah, the general concept of playing the team is basically, you work on 12.5 13-second rotations, more or less, where the main point of the team is to work around Haru's 12-second cooldown on generating quivers through an anomaly trigger. So what you'll see here is that I'll trigger shock with Grace, and then every 12 seconds, no earlier than every 12 seconds, I shock the enemy again, just set up 6 again so you can keep dashing. While, of course, maintaining your buffs, or go over the fight again without pausing. So arena buff here, start shocking. Your first shock's gonna be really slow, but that's normal. After the first one, it's gonna be much faster. Once you have it, arena buff again, Haru. Here I do arena EX because I can cancel the animation of Haru's EX. Missiles you kind of just have to dodge. No other option really. Grace again. Arena buff up again. And then we just start attacking. Again, Haru ult, whenever you have it, you can toss it out because you get it so fast in this fight. Your assist. Yep. You see I set some quivers with Haru's basic 5 here, so just get a few extra dashes. Here my shock's about to run out, so I reapply it with Grace. Arena buff again. Keep dashing. Yeah, always keep an eye out on this shock timer up here. Always watch out for this. So here we reach stun. My shock is about to run out, and I don't have much built, so I do Grace Chain. So I do one dash set here that isn't buffed with Thunder Metal, but it's fine. Here I trigger shock, but because I already had quivers, I didn't waste the cooldown yet, which means here I can reapply Rena buff, toss out this Grace ult. Shock going again. That shock now sets quivers. Rena buff again, but with ultimate. And then back to Haru. I move over here to hit the right leg. I EX for more quivers. Start dashing. I assist here for more shock buildup. Apply Rena buff again, do more dashes. This shocks again, so I can just instantly keep going. Here I assist to Grace. After cancelling my basic attack 5. I get my Rena buff going again, and there's 6 quivers already on the field, thanks to my basic 5. Do a couple more dashes, toss out an ultimate, just a bit too late for Thunder Metal, but it's fine. We go back to Grace. Shock is back up. And we're doing our stun combo. Nothing too crazy, this team doesn't have the craziest stun combos, because it's most an out-of-stun team. You don't have all your resources all the time like you would in a Nicole team, or sorry, a Chingy team, sorry. Making sure we reapply Rena buff. And then we go again. Set shock, set Rena, and then we go. We go to town. Missiles, can't assist these, so I just dodge them. Reapply shock here, a bit slowly, and I mess up. This should not have been ultimate. This was a waste. I keep going. I meant to assist to Grace there, but I did it too late, I guess. That happens. I did reapply Rena buff here, just very briefly before doing that. Here I run from laser instead of trying to dodge counter it, because Grace's dodge counter sucks. And then here we go back to dashing. Put some more quivers. Try to not get it by the laser, but it's a bit awkward. My shock ran out here, so I'm about to reapply it. Yep. Assist. And then just one special does it. Rena buff. Plus some free damage. Couple extra dashes. And then stun combo. The last one. Or half of a stun combo. Not even. And that's the fight. That's a basic rundown of the thing. Let me talk about the specifics and the strats that you want to implement here and how the team generally functions now. So right here at the beginning, I swap to Arena before I do anything. And there I press Arena Special. You can use Arena Dash Attack, which they're both about the same, but I prefer Special here. What it does is just, it puts the dolls on the field, gives you the Arena buff for the next couple seconds. The best way to use it is Special. Dash Attack is like 1 second behind, it lasts just a tiny bit less. Ideally, you don't use Basic Attack 1, but yeah, basically, whenever you rotate Arena and you want a Special or Dash Attack, yeah, Special if you have it. So yeah, I've swapped to Grace here. I assume you know the basic Grace combo, but she has these things up here called Zap Stacks that she fills, and when it's full, then you want to press your Special to throw your grenades. I assume you already know how to use the combo, but essentially, for your first combo, it's going to be either a Dash Attack or N1. You're going to do the sidestep attacks. You want to be holding a direction that is not directly away or directly to the enemy. But say here I'm holding right. I do my dash attack while holding right until the bar fills. I toss out the first grenades. Then she does this swipe attack. This. So she does a quick burst and this like swipe with her hand. That gives you another full bar, so I E again. And then she does a jump, which gives you a full bar, and then you throw a grenade again. And then you just kind of keep looping that. You have to get a feel for how to get these Grace combos. They're really basic, but you have to know that they exist. So yeah, I stay on Grace until I get my shock. First, swap back to Arena again, reapply with Special, and then I just start doing my Haru things. Aim shot the enemy, you get 7 dashes here, because you know, enemy is under anomaly. After your last dash, I do an EX, swap to Arena here with EX again. And then the quick assist lets me switch back to Haru quickly. And do my other couple dashes. Here, I want you to look at the shock here on the top right. This is your shock timer. You can see that I have basically no time left on the shock. With Arena, your shock is going to last 13 seconds. So with that in mind, you want to trigger your shock after 12 seconds passed, which is going to be when the orange bar is like right around where it is right now, when it's about to expire. So after I just dodge these like missiles real quick, I go back to Erase and just reapply shock again, which shouldn't take long at all because I've already built a fair amount just with Harumasa's dashes. But yeah, when it comes to triggering shock again with Grace, if you're running Thunder mode Grace, you ideally want to trigger shock in the last second that your shock aura is active. If you're not playing Thunder Metal Grace, you don't give a shit about it though. Okay, here I do it again, and I apply Arena buff. Something about applying Arena buff here. Ideally, you reapply Arena Doll right before triggering shock again with Grace. However, because I was already so close to triggering shock, if I then, from Grace, try to swap to Arena again, she'll be on cooldown still, and it'll be awkward. So what I did here instead is I triggered the shock on Grace first and then swap to Arena. My shock will do less damage because of this, but it gives me a little bit more uptime on Haru. So yeah, just to quickly recap, it's going to be a very long explanation. It's a very complicated team to play, but once I'm past the basics, you'll understand. So yeah, I reapply shock here, reapply Arena buff, and then back to Harumasa. Here, I fired off the quivers that were already present, and once that happened, I just ult, because I have it. Once I hit, 7 dashes. Oh, that's on 7. You'll see that I have no AX on Haru here, so I can't immediately set another 6 quivers. So what I do actually here is I just let a random N5 or a basic attack 5 rip, and then do a evasive assist with Grace. You want to do not more than 2 ideally. So you want to do 1 or 2 Grace assists whenever you can as you're dashing on Haru, because these build shock for you, and if your Grace is on Thunder Metal, this will be buffed by Thunder Metal for her. A really fast animation, and then what I do after here is I quickly swap back to Arena to reapply her buff, and then back to Haru, and then I just use the quivers that I said earlier. I only said 2 quivers, so, I mean, it's not going to be 2 dashes here for M1. And then you see that the shock timer is already basically up, so I get an assist back to Grace. Trigger shock here, because you see the bar is already basically full because I got to do the 2 assists in the middle of the combo. Then shock is back up, Arena buff again, and then Haru. So you see it's a very basic loop of getting your quivers from shock, getting another 6 from EX or whatever it is you have, and doing that. So here I reach stun. Stun is going to be kind of annoying. It's going to depend a lot on when you trigger it in your combo. Here I triggered it very late, so my shock timer is going to be about to run out. So what I do here is I just quickly do a Grace chain attack to like refill this bar here as much as possible. You'll have to be paying attention to the fight when you shock. If you see that you shocked, there's not the... Sorry, when you stun. If you see that you stun and your bar is like not that full at all and you already pretty low on your shock timer, I recommend going for a Grace chain just to fill some of that in advance. Then I do Haru chain here, just a little bit more shock since the quiver is. And here I just Arena chain for both obviously her buff and a quick assist because I'm running Rina on Astral. I guess I can quickly talk about Astral. Astral Rina is not great, but I mean, there's not really any other good options. The best option here is probably like Swing Jazz or Astral on Rina. I guess you can also do Freedom Blues, but I feel that if you're running Grace on Anomaly Mastery slot 6, you don't need Freedom Blues. Yeah, anyway, I do the chains in that order. It doesn't really matter what order you do the chains in, but ideally Grace is never last. You'll start dashing. I don't have my shock instantly, but I do get it like right here, I think. Yeah, I get my shock there. It does mean that my first couple of dashes weren't buffed by Thunder Metal, but it's not the biggest deal. Sometimes you just get unlucky with when you stun, and you just have to kind of take it. So here, because I shocked with quivers already present, I set up my quivers here, and then I shocked here. Harumasa's quiver cooldown was off. This shock would have set quivers again, but because I already set some from his EX earlier, what this did is it gave me a shock, which, you know, that's cool and all. But what I can do here immediately is use Grace Ultimate to instantly reapply the shock. Well, almost instantly. Here I get it. And because I hadn't yet used the 6 quivers that you get from an Anomaly trigger, I get them now. So yeah, just to go over that again, if you happen to set shock while quivers are active, you won't trigger the 12-second cooldown for the quivers. And then I just go back to my usual rotation. Rina Ulta there, just because I had it, might as well toss it out. Something about Rina Ultimate, actually, I should note. If you use Rina Ultimate in stun here, there's going to be a delay to your quick assist prompt for some reason. It's a strange Rina bug that exists. So ideally, only use Rina Ultimate out of stun, but it's not the biggest difference. And over here, I just run to another leg to get some more damage for the Impair. Then toss another couple quivers. Here I'm looking out for the enemy attack. I can see I can get an assist on Grace, and I do it. Then I quickly back to Rina and just keep dashing with the quivers I set up. Here I actually shocked during my dash sequence, which is also fine, as long as it happens late enough. Yeah, you see I shocked here right after my shock ran out, so the cooldown was off. You don't have to always trigger shock on Grace. Most of the time it's just going to happen naturally, but it doesn't technically have to be on Grace. You will notice that my shock ticks aren't as strong as it could be. Here it's 55,000. I mean, it could be significantly higher if you took the time to only build the shock meter with Grace as opposed to with Haru, but I find that to be less damage because the time you spend on fielding Grace could instead be spent just doing damage on Haru. Anyway, shock is back up, and you get this consume the 6 quivers you got immediately. Here I do a basic attack 5 and cancel that into evasive assist with Grace. Because I had done a chain recently from stun, that is going to set 6 quivers as well. So here I do my thing. Because I have Rina EX here, I wait until it hits and then quick assist, purely for Astral Voice reasons. And then I just do my thing. More dashes, and then you see my shock just ran out. Actually waste his ultimate. I don't waste it, it's not buffed by Thunder Metal, unfortunately. And here I notice my shock is down, so I reapply it with Grace. And I stun. This is a really good stun timing, like right as soon as you apply shock, because you can just do your combo here. You can do manual chain stuff for your stun window, but realistically, because your shock is such a big part of it, I just do auto chain. It's too much of a hassle to bother otherwise. Here, real quick, I think this is pretty important to cover. So my first few dashes here, and then I reapply Rina buff, which is a regular special, because I don't have the X here. I look back, I wait until Haru fades away, I wait about a second, and then I swap back to him. If I do it any faster, I'll swap to Grace instead and completely fuck off my rhythm. Something to consider. And yeah, stun's over. You'll find that your stun combos are nowhere near as optimized or like big damage inducing as your combos would be with like a proper stun team, purely because you're unlikely to set up a stun window adequately with this team. And that's sort of a downside. Most of the time you're out of stun this team anyway, but yeah, if you feel like you're doing no dashes in your stun window, don't feel bad about it. That's just how this team operates. Yeah, here I'm actually doing the same, you know, bunch of Haru dashes. This is a missile attack, so I'm not gonna get any assist. I just dodge, I think, yeah. Here my shock's about to run out, so I reapply it. A bit late for Thunder Metal, unfortunately. You actually make a misplay. Here I ulted on Grace out of panic because I wanted to fill the bar quickly, but I didn't realize that it was already full. You can see the bar was already full before I even tossed the ultimate. So I kind of just wasted this here, which is unfortunate. It's not the biggest deal. And then another rotation. It's really just a loop of getting hit by the fucking blender. It's really just a loop of setting up your shock quivers, reapplying your Rina buff, and then doing your dashes with Harumasa. It's a very simple loop, but it's very dependent on what the enemy does. Like here, I just fucking run away from the laser because the way Grace's combo moves around and doesn't have like really any iframes. This laser is really bad for Grace because you can't really dodge it. Her dodge counter fucking sucks, and yeah, so I just try to run away from it here. If I hadn't wasted my ult here, by the way, I would have been able to just ult here instead of spending so much field time on Grace to reapply quivers, but that's like the biggest mistake I made in the run, using that ultimate at such a bad time. Here I got no resources and I'm getting fucking gunned down by the laser, so it's a really awkward position. Here I got my ultimate, I just fire it out for damage. Here my shock is up, so yep. Grace assist. Trigger shock. Rina ult because I have it. Get the buff, because damage because my time is running out here. And then I try to impair this leg if I have the last couple seconds, yep. And then one last very small stun combo here. And I get the funny EX finisher. But yeah, this team's concept is very straightforward. It's really just a simple rotation of, I can show it here. Simple rotation of setting your shock quivers, or any anomaly, but it's shock on this team. Setting your shock quivers here with, I mean, it doesn't have to be Grace, but usually it's gonna be with Grace. Reapplying your arena buff and however it may be, so, you know, regular special, dash attack, EX special, or ultimate, whichever one you have available. And then it's just detonating them and using them for dashes with Haru. With M1 Rina, her buff should last your whole dash sequence. What I don't really do here, because I don't think it's worth the field time, is do like one dash set on Haru, go to Rina, and then do another dash set, because I think it's just way too much field time if I don't have Rina EX. If I do have Rina EX, I go for it, but if I don't, not being able to quick assist back to Haru just wastes so much time that I don't think it's worth it. So if you have M1 Rina here, you don't have to ever worry about your buff running out. You kind of just toss it out at the beginning, and it should last for most of Haru's dashes, if not all of them. This is an M1 Haru, or well, it's M3, but you know, M1 as for all the dashes he's doing. With M0, it's a bit more awkward with how long you stay on Haru, because of course your dash strings are only 4 dashes as opposed to 7. So instead of just doing your 2 dash strings and already being out of shock time, you're gonna do your 2 dash strings, and you can have like almost half the shock still to go. So what you do with M0 is you just do basic attack 4, basic attack 5, just toss out a bunch of random like little dash sets, like 1 dash, 2 dashes just every now and again, until you see that your shock is about to deplete, or it just depleted if you're playing with Astra, and then you reapply it with Grace, of course. I thought M0 Haru would be much worse with this team than he actually was when I tested it on the ult account with Astra Grace, with a really like poorly built Astra, by the way. It got almost 40,000. I know it can't get 40,000 because they made some mistakes. Yeah, this team is actually surprisingly okay for this fight. Specifically, it's pretty good for this fight, because in this fight versus UCC Corruption Complex, all these impairs are giving you days, which is the main thing the team struggles with, is that this team just cannot stun. It just can't. So, in this fight specifically, you can get so many impairs and so much free damage and so much free days that it's able to operate at a very good level. Like this run, this 45k, which had like the big choke you saw with Grace earlier, right? Ult at a really bad time. It got 45,000. It could have been like 47,000 if I had a couple extra seconds to work with. That's barely any worse than my actual Chingy time, Chingy score, sorry. So, yeah, if this team receives buffs in the future, which I hope it does, maybe Trigger can help. It may become at least semi-competitive, which I'd hope to see, because I really like playing this team. It's very difficult to play, because again, you're kind of just fishing for these Grace assists, which I fuck up here. You're really just fishing for those assists on Grace. Ideally 1. If you get 0, it really sucks. It makes your field time is really long. Yeah, the nice thing about Grace in this team is that because her evasive assist is so good, it's so fast and it applies a good amount of shock. It means that her field time to reapply shock takes super little time. So if you can't get those assists, then the team starts being a lot worse, which is what you saw versus Typhon, where last Deadly Assault, when I played this team against Typhon, I only got like 36,000 points. Like damage points, where in this one I got like 40,000. Okay, not only did I get 40,000, they basically almost doubled the HP of these bosses for the Deadly Assault. Like, they did a pretty big HP jump for some reason. Yeah, what you saw with Typhon is like the worst possible version of the team, because you can't assist at anything, so Grace's shock takes a long time to build up. The boss is really aggressive, which leads to, one, it leads to a bunch of dodge counters on Haru, which interrupts his dashes, or he just dies. Eventually. And then 2, because it's so aggressive, it means that your Grace, not only is your field time longer because of not having the application from the evasive assists, your field time is now even longer because you're also trying to outmaneuver the fucking robot all the time. And the unfortunate thing about Grace is that her dodge counter shock application is horrible. So with Typhon, what happened is that it's one of the worst matchups for this team ever, because you can't assist, which is really big. Grace's field time is 10 years, and then Harumasa's dashes get interrupted constantly, so it's like, it's a very enemy-dependent team. Even in a fight where it's like not super optimal, it just performed okay. In this fight specifically, it's really good, because you get a bunch of assists, you can get some good help from the impairs, And it's an electric weak enemy, so your build-up is also pretty fast. So yeah, in a fight like this, where basically all the stars align, except for the laser. The lasers are like the worst matchup ever, but I mean, outside of the one attack this guy does, and the missiles, it's just a really good fight for the team, which is why I've seen it perform so well. Even with an M0 Harumasa. So yeah, if you got Arena, or if you got a Grace lying around, you want to try it out with your Harumasa, give it a go. Don't expect it to be as good as Chingy, it's not going to be. If you have an M1 Arena, and your Grace is like Mindscape 2, and your Haru is Mindscape 1, then I do think it can be competitive. In this fight at least, it can be competitive with Chingy. But in something like Shiyu, this team is really not that great. Because again, it has basically no access to stun. Its main strength is just doing constant damage. And in this mode, that's what you want to be doing. For Deadliest mode, I think the team is actually quite good if, again, the enemy is electric weak, and it's not Typhon. Typhon's like awful. Typhon's awful for this team. But yeah, I hope I made myself relatively clear. Just to quickly recap one final time. The way this team functions, it's just a basic rotation of having your arena buff active, setting up your shock with Grace, and then doing your dashes with Harumasa. Your main goal is using the 6 quivers from the shock application, another 6 quivers from an EX if you have it, just to pad out as much of this shock time that you have as possible up here with dashes, and then whenever it's about to run out, or when it just ran out, you go back to Grace and you reapply it. It's a constant loop of doing that. The difficulty with this theme comes with managing your swaps, making sure arena buff is always active, I guess aiming for the right legs in this fight specifically, getting your Grace assists at a good time. What else is also like difficult that I should mention? Oh yeah, maneuvering Grace through like aggressive enemies can be really difficult, because trying to do your whole sidestep combo to apply your zap stacks and dodging and not like getting staggered to oblivion can be annoying. Yeah, I don't find that you need to really dodge counter on Haru. His damage reduction is usually enough to let you live a fight, unless again it's a boss like Typhon where he just attacks you constantly non-stop. And again, if you're getting attacked, usually you can Grace assist it anyway, which gives you some vitality time. So set your shock, apply arena buff, do dashes, get Grace assist when you can, and loop that.